everybody. Guess what we're going to be doing today?
More sanding.
So today in the garage, we got Brandon. He's going to be working on this Nova fender. What we're going to do is we're going to take some 220 on a sanding block. It's in urethane primer, and it needs all blocked out and gotten ready for paint. And I'm going to be working on this cab corner, the bottom of this door. I'm getting everything sanded out, blocked out for the final time. This is an icing that we're using. It's a real fine putty. It's by US Chemical. It's an icing glaze, and what it does is it just finalizes your body work. It's a real thin, smooth version of regular body filler. So I'm working on that. I'm trying to get everything blocked out where like all the gaps and lines and everything suit me, and then it's going to be going into urethane primer after that.
I'm going to be working on blocking this with 220 until all the guide coat's gone. That will give us a level foundation to lay the sealer and then paint it.
What we did is Brandon took 220 and he blocked all this out, and we found a couple low spots. So we're going to show you how to fix them. And basically, when you see the low spots in the guide coat, you can see like the guide coat showing through the primer there. There's an area there. There's another one over here that you can see. So that's what you're looking for. Not only can you feel them when you rub your hand over it, but you can also see them, visibly see them. And that's what the guide coat does. It helps you find your flaws, and now we're going to show you how to fix them. Basically, on the market, there's 3 different types of fillers. And I guess it's a matter of knowing what to use where. Whenever I do like a quarter panel or something like that, like if you go back and watch some of the other videos where you see me put the quarter panel on, any kind of patchwork or anything like that, when I get done welding that on, what I do is I start out with this Duraglass. And this Duraglass, it isn't a real easy sanding filler. It doesn't sand bad, but it isn't a real easy sanding filler. What I usually do with this is I use it to seal up the patch, because it's a waterproof. It's waterproof, and it's a strong repair. So like if I have a patch welded on, what I'll do is I'll put this right on the edge of the seam and everything, and I just use it to fill up kind of the bulk of the edge, like just rough it in, if you will. We put a little bit of that on. It's usually, like I said, we'll keep it right on the seam, very small, and then just like rough it in with some 80 grit and get it even closer. Okay. And then the next thing that we move to is, I like to use the Rage Gold. There's different fillers on the market. I will give you guys a little tip. Spend the money on some better filler. You get what you pay for. And if you buy a $10 body filler, it sands like $10 body filler. I like this filler because this filler basically sticks to all substrates. It has a good corrosion protection in that to it. The shrinkage is minimum on it. So it's a real good filler to use. I like using Rage Gold a lot. It sands really nice. So back to what I was saying, I put the Duraglass around the patch, and I try to like rough it in with that. Now, the other thing I want to say is everything that you're doing on bare metal. So you want to have bare metal ground and roughed up with 80 grit. That's important. Okay. So like I said, you would start with the Duraglass, you would rough that in, stay in the 80 grit, rough it all in, get it to shape, and then you would follow it with the coat of the Rage Gold. And that's kind of where you do your sculpting. That's the next stage. It's an easier sand and filler. You can go to like 150 and start sanding that out, start blocking it out, getting it all nice and shaped up where you want it. You want to get all that done. And there again, you want to stay in the bare metal, and you want a 150 on this. That's perfect. Get it all blocked out, get it where you want it. And then the next thing would be, you would want to put a coat of, if you have a lot of bare metal, I usually use epoxy. I've covered this in other videos too, but I'll start with epoxy primer. And then after I get my epoxy on, then I go to my urethane primer. And the reason why I'm telling you guys all this is because this is what we're getting to right now. The fender that we're doing has been epoxied, has been urethaned, but we still found low spots that don't suit us. Now, there's a couple different ways to repair them. Some people use a sprayable, like a polyester type primer filler. Some people just like prime the heck out of it and block all that out. And you can do all that. There's really good primers on the market. There's really good type sprayable fillers, polyester fillers, they call them on the market. I'm going to say it again. I'm old school. I don't like any of that stuff. So what I like to do is they come out with this product. And this is a product I'm going to show you how to use. It is an icing. It is a finish putty. It's a real thin finish putty. So instead of pounding everything up with primer and blocking it out and worrying about shrinkage and all that, I mix up a coat of this. I know where my low spots are. It is all right to use this icing out over primer. That's the beauty of this stuff. If you read how you can use it, like in collision and repair and things like that, they would use this icing to like fix door dings and stuff. So you wouldn't have to necessarily take the door to the bare metal and all that. You could repair it with this. This is made to go out over paint and primer that's properly prepped. You still got to prep it. You got to sand it, like 150, get some tooth into it, and then you can put this icing on top of it. But like I said, that's the reason why I wanted to talk about the other ones a little bit, because that kind of brings us right to where we are now. There's urethane primer on this fender. We found a couple low spots, and we're going to put some icing on it and show you how to finish it. So we're going to show you the next step of it. So hang in there. Be right back. Next thing I'm going to show you guys is how to mix up this icing. Basically, it doesn't matter if you're mixing icing or if you're mixing the Rage Gold or the Duraglass or whatever filler. All fillers basically mix up the same. So I like to use a dedicated mud board when I mix filler. I know there's a lot of guys use cardboard and pizza boxes and whatever, and you can do that, but if you ever mixed up filler on a piece of cardboard, you can see when you're all done, the resin it soaks into the cardboard. So if the resin's going into the cardboard and not going on your vehicle where you want it, that's not really a good thing. So you want to keep the mixing ratios and everything proper. I would at least use, if you don't want to buy a mud board, but use a piece of plexiglass or something like that, that you can mix your filler up on. Okay, that being said, I'm going to mix up some filler and we're going to take it over there and put it in those low spots. So I try not to use any more filler than I can work at one time. Reason being is you don't want to waste a lot of materials, especially when you're dealing with your higher dollar materials, because anything you throw in the garbage can, that's just money you're throwing away. Next thing you want to do is you want to knead the hardener. I knead it like that, and that just gets it all mixed together in the tube. So you knead it up like that for a little bit, and then depending on whether you're working in the summer or whether you're working in the winter or your temperature, your garage, you use more or less hardener. It's always best to err a little bit on the less hardener side. You put too much on, you won't even make it to your work before it gets hard, especially with this icing really kicks quick. So I always use a little less hardener on that to begin with. But I'll show you guys like about how much I use for this. So I'm going to use about like that much, and that's about it. That'll give me time to work it, get it mixed up here, and get it on, talk to you guys a little bit, and you could use a little more hardener and make it a little faster, but like I said, it just gives you a little bit of extra time to work with it. So the next thing is you want to fold it. You don't want to stir it like a cake or do this or anything crazy like that. What you want to do is you want to start folding it like this. And you'll watch that hardener fold in, and you'll actually watch this turn from white to blue as the hardener gets mixed in. I keep folding it over. And what that does is it pushes out the air bubbles. So if you would just stir it or use a paint stick or something, get in there, you would create a bunch of air bubbles in it. And then when you go to sand it, you'd have a bunch of pits in your filler and that. It just makes a lot nicer job if you just keep folding it over like that. And I gather it all up. You want to gather it all up. You want to turn it. You want to flip it. Do all the good stuff with it here. Get that mixed together really well. And like I said, if you just use a little bit less hardener, it gives you a little bit more time to work with it. So, all right. So that's mixed plenty good. So we're good. We're going to take it over to the car now, and we're going to fill up some low spots. These low spots that we found when we were blocking it and that, the best thing to do is take a little bit of icing. And you'll see how smooth this stuff applies. It's really does a nice job. And like I said, this fender was sanded. It was cleaned. It's all ready to be doing this. You want to make sure when you have it all dusty from sanding and everything that you clean it all off and you get it ready to go. You just keep working it in like that. Give it a little Bob Ross technique. Just keep working it in like that. And you're going to see it lay out real nice. And as it dries, it'll lay out even better.
That was a good save.
It was a good save. I thought it was going. I thought it was history. So I put all the icing on, and we're going to let it dry now. And then once it's dry, we'll sand it just like we did the primer. We're going to take a little bit of like 180 on a block, and we're going to sand this out, get it all, and you're going to see it'll blend in real nice into the primer, and it'll fade in. It'll look a lot like this does over here. If you look at some of these spots here that are done icing, this is how nice it blends in. So you see that nice faded spotter? That's blended into the old material really well. So we'll sand it like that. We'll get it all blended in. And then I'll come back and I'll reprime the areas that need reprimed. Rather than taking and putting a whole bunch of polyester filler out over the whole entire fender or just priming the heck out of the thing, it's not really necessary. We only have a couple spots, so we're only going to fix a couple spots. We'll see you next week.